17 after 3, good to have you with us here on ENCA. I'm Gareth Edwards. Our focus continues, of course, with the national shutdown tomorrow. Not just government's response, not just the response from authorities, but of course, those of you who rely on public transport. Of course, there might be a lot of confusion about what is available and what is not available for tomorrow. Let's talk about Putco, specifically reversing, I understand, its decision to suspend its services on Monday. Now, the company had initially announced that buses will not be operating during the planned national shutdown. However, it seems that things might have changed. Lindokuhle Xulu is the Putco spokesperson joining us this afternoon. Hello to you, Lindo. So are buses running tomorrow or are they not running? Where are we?
Well, Gareth, you put it right there in saying that buses will be running tomorrow. You remember that we initially issued a statement saying that we're suspending operations because of our risk as well as safety analysis from our internal security. But subsequent to that, we did get a message to say that there'll be an urgent meeting. This is from the Department of Transport. It was headed by the newly appointed minister. And she basically told us that the state had put sufficient security measures to ensure that bus companies, that other industries as well as business can operate on that day. So they said that we must treat this day as a normal day and that despite our concerns, which we presented to them, they have put sufficient security measures. So on those bases, we as Putco will be operating our buses on Monday.
What were those safety issues that you had raised?
Well, we raised some issues around the fact that our internal risk and safety analysis basically told us that we cannot answer with confidence the fact that we can keep our passengers as well as our staff who are manning our buses on the road safe. And this is because we've seen time and time again, particularly as Putco, when we operate, when we go into these communities, you find that when there is a protest, the modus operandi or the usual thing that they do is to force our drivers to blockade some of those roads, and they sometimes ban our buses. So we've seen a number of issues like this, but at the same time, there was that analysis that was done by our internal security, and it looked at how situations will be across the country. This is reports from KZN, Cape Town, as well as in Johannesburg. You look at Gauteng and Mpumalanga. Those are some of our operational areas, and they've told us that it won't be safe. There are threats of intimidation. There is a plan to blockade some of the roads and arteries when it comes to these provinces, and that is why they said we could not guarantee the safety of our passengers, and that's why we took that decision to say that we're not going to operate.
However, you've now changed your mind as Putco, so if I'm reading this correctly, as Putco, you're now saying that you will be operating as normal. I take it then you are telling South Africa you can guarantee the safety of every passenger and driver on your buses tomorrow. Is that what you're telling me this afternoon?
It's an important question and an important clarity to make in terms of the fact that we had initially said we're not operating. We are fearing that we would be targeted and intimidated and that there would be unusual activity on the roads that would make us not be sure in terms of making sure that our passengers are safe. But like I said, after that decision that we took and publicized, the government had then called a meeting to say that they themselves as the state have provided enough.
Are you telling me that you're trusting government over your own gut feeling as Putco? You're trusting government over your own organizational safety concerns? What if someone was to get injured tomorrow? Who is Putco going to blame?
Remember, Gareth, that Putco is an arm of government, if I may put it that way. We operate subcontracted by government. So, yes, we are putting our trust on government. We're putting our trust on the law in South Africa. And we're putting our trust on the word of the minister, as well as the president himself during that Tanzanian president visit at the union buildings to say that they are going to ensure that Monday is a normal day and that anyone who would impede upon the movement or the activities of business would then be met by the full wrath of the law. So I'm trusting our operations on that because we were given the assurances by government to say that they are in fact going to safeguard our buses and safeguard our passengers and make sure that everyone is safe. And I should say that while I say this, it comes at a time when even as yesterday, in fact it was Friday, when the leader of the political party leading this march even made utterances to say that they welcome the minister urging Putco to actually operate. They're saying saying that they're going to use our buses to actually go to the picket lines. You already see some of the concerns rising that we've made. But we want to make it clear as Putco that, first of all, we're trusting on government to live up to its word and say that they're going to protect us. But secondly, we are an apolitical company. We really are not affiliated to anyone. So people must know that Putco is by no ways involved in this particular process. We do not support it. We don't support any ideology at this stage.
Having said that, however, that you don't support it as an ideology, you're telling me that you will also, as Putco, be willing to transport those who are going to be taking part in this protest, or will you be stopping anyone taking part on their way to a protest?
Gareth, the simple thing about us is that we are going to operate as government has mandated us. Anyone who would deviate or redirect our buses, who would force our drivers, would literally have to take passengers out of the bus and then force the driver to drive to wherever they want to drive. And for us, we view that as hijacking. And that is why we're saying that because we've been mandated by government and we've been urged, despite our security risk and analysis, that we are not going to operate. They told us that we should operate, we should treat it as a normal day, and that if there is anyone who breaks the law, they will deal with them as a state. We have to trust on that, and we'll leave it up to the authorities to deal with anyone who really tries anything untoward.
Are any of your drivers or staff on strike tomorrow?
No one has submitted a leave, Gareth. We are an organization that understands that people are affiliated to certain organizations or political parties. Usually when there is a planned protest or action like this, you'd find that some of our drivers that are affiliated to that would submit their documents to say that they want to be on leave. But at this stage, I can certainly confirm that there's no one who submitted any leave form, particularly a leave form to actually be part of a demonstration. So we know for sure that our drivers are not part of that or any of our supporting staff.
As the clock continues to count down to this national shutdown tomorrow, as Putco, you have changed your mind once already. What guarantees that you're not going to be changing your mind at the last moment? This country depends on you to get them to work and to where they need to get to. How can you guarantee there's not going to be a last-minute change?
Well, we are not going to change unless otherwise government tells us to do so. But at this stage, it does seem that it's all systems go. What we have said as contingency plans that we put in place, we're going to deploy our security to actually help the police monitor some of our routes and ensure that our passengers are safe. But we've also given the mandate to our business unit executives to say that they must observe the situation on the ground. If they do feel that passengers or staff are not safe, even with these measures put by government, then they have the mandate to and the authority to actually stop some of those operations. So the guarantee we can give to our passengers is that we're going to follow suit in terms of government's plea to say that we must operate, but should we feel that their lives are at stake and their lives are not safe, then we're certainly going to stop those operations. Those are the only two things that would stop Putco from operating. It would either be the state telling us that we should stop, or it would be the fact that we're seeing that the situation is getting out of hand.
Just in closing, Lindo, as I say goodbye to you, we just heard from senior reporter Slendelo Masikane. She's out at the Union Building, citing a number of areas where there is going to be added security tomorrow. Many of those are along routes such as Rudaput, Sunninghill, near CBDs. Are you adapting your routes accordingly?
Not at all, Gareth. In fact, one of the things that I was listening to when Slendelo Masikane was recounting some of those areas, it does seem that government has taken precaution in terms of our route areas, because Sunninghill is one of our destinations, Rudaput is one of our destinations, as well as the route that our bus passed through. So we are confident about this. We are, in fact, encouraged by hearing some of the security plans that have been put in place. But like I said, Putco is a very complex operation when it comes to the fact that it goes deep into our communities, especially in the townships. You look at Soshanguve, you look at Soweto, and deep rural areas of KwaMhlanga. So we are hoping that police will be able to bolster their plans in terms of also looking out for some of our buses and passengers when it comes to those areas, because those are our starting points in the morning and they are our end points in the evening. So we're hoping that their security plan entails all of this, but we've given them the information. They are the contract holder for Putco, so they know exactly where we operate, and for them them, it's up to them to actually look at some of those hotspots. We're going to be helping with our private security, but really we're putting all of our trust in government and the state law enforcement, as well as those relevant to guarding our roads, to make sure that our passengers are safe. Because for us, that was the reason why we had initially suspended our operations, and it's the reason why we urge government to really make sure that all of our passengers are safe.
Certainly hope that is the case. Lindokuhle Xulu, thank you very much indeed for your time. I'm sure we'll speak again, if not later today, then possibly tomorrow. He is the spokesperson for Putco.